Welcome live into Homefield Advantage presented by Jake Major with the Bullock Agency of Wyoming and Bear Lake Memorial Hospital. And also like a big shout out to Les Schwab and First Bank of Wyoming for being some of our sponsors for our broadcast. Anthony Colsino alongside Aaron Poling here today. And Aaron, what a great show we have on hand.
Absolutely. So we're going to get it started with Bridger Valley Soccer, as that'll be the first two segments of our show. Then we'll talk some Evanston Soccer as we recap what was a wild day of Evanston Soccer, as Anthony's heard me tell the story in office. So I can't wait to tell you guys the story and just why I'm kind of optimistic about the way the Evanston season has gone so far, that they are getting better. But first, let's start with the Bridger Valley.
We'll start out with Lyman for our first segment. So last week, the Lyman Eagles took on the arch rival, the Mountain View Buffaloes, in the Bridger Valley Classico. The Lady Eagles won 3-2 in a thriller of the matchup. The boys lost 4-0. And going into this week of the regular season, they have Lander on the road on Thursday. It's going to be a tough road trip up there, 2.5, 3 hour bus ride up there. But of course, with it being still an early part of season and getting one of those far road trips out of the way, it kind of relaxes you just a little bit for the rest of the season.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong to me with getting those road trips out of the way early, because as the weather gets nicer, you'll be in your home field. You won't have to worry about going 3 hours on a bus and trying to get your legs going again, which I think that's going to be the hardest part, is getting off the bus and getting your legs going. But these kids have done this their whole lives. Let's be honest. I mean, we talk about how hard it is, but it's something these kids have done their entire lives. They don't know having having multiple road games only 20 minutes away. They don't know that. That's not a thing here. So these kids, I think they're going to be ready to get off the bus and get going, but getting these trips out of the way early, I think, is kind of helpful. I mean, it's going to be a tough ask to go on the road and beat a really good Lander team, but if you're able to do it, it sets your season up to be really, really good, and it puts you in a really good spot. And I don't think there's anything wrong with getting an iron test iron type of game early on in the season, just to see where you stand, because then you can make adjustments that'll help you out throughout the rest of the year.
Couldn't agree more, and I've seen Lander play already this year. And on the girls' side, the Lady Eagles and Lander, they match up really well. Both of them are fast teams. They like to get their strikers in a forward motion before the ball even gets to them, but also they keep in the back of their mind to stay on sides as well. They don't try to beat past all the defenders, because in soccer, of course, you're going to get marked off sides if you do that and just race past everyone. But both sides are very even in that retrospect of they like to get the attackers on the move early. The midfield works around that attacking end. If the midfield is slowing down, the attackers are going to slow down. If the midfield's ramping up, the attackers are going to ramp up. So I can't wait for the girls' matchup. It's going to be a really good challenge to see what the Lady Eagles can do on the road at Lander. It's going to be a beautiful day. It's supposed to be 64 degrees on Thursday up there. Ooh. So not even a drop of rain or moisture. Fingers crossed. I may have just jinxed that maybe a little bit.
You live in Wyoming. Yeah, you live in Wyoming now. You don't mention it. You just say the weather's supposed to be beautiful, move on, because that's the best way to jinx it. But I mean, that type of weather, that plays to both teams. If they want to use their speed, there's nothing like having a nice 65-degree day where it's not too warm, it's not too cold. It's kind of perfect where you'll build up a little bit of sweat, but you're not going to scorch yourself with a 100-degree sun. And I just love the aspect of using your speed and trying to use your speed, because that's something you can't match. If the other team is faster than you, the other team's just faster than you. You can't do anything about that. So I'd love to see Lyman try to use their speed, try to get their strikers involved. You can get on top, so that way you give yourself a chance in the second half. And on the road, that's even more key.
And their main two attackers, Eliza Clegg and Carly Saby. Clegg had 1 goal, Saby had 2, and Saby is more of the I'm just going to run fast, I'm going to get the ball on my feet. Clegg also runs really fast, but she is also a Ronthon champion in the wrestling ring as well, in the wrestling circle as well. So it is amazing to see that, and she was able to bounce off defenders constantly during the game versus Mountain View and just kind of use that strength to her advantage overall. Switching to the boys' side of things, the boys take on Lander at 5 p.m. Thursday, and that matchup is going to be a really interesting one. Lander has a strategy where the midfield kind of pushes the ball up, but they kind of have a lone striker involved. But I've seen Lander's keeper, Aiden Jackson, before, and man, that kid can goaltend like crazy and be in there for crucial saves. But also Nate Brady for Lyman, he had 14 saves. He did allow 4 goals in net, but the volume of shots he was seeing versus Mountain View last week, it kind of justifies those 4 goals when you have 14 saves.
Yeah, one final note on Eliza Clegg before we move on. The way that she uses her frame, and you see the wrestler in her. Mm-hmm. And this is why I think athletes should play multiple sports. When you basically leave yourself to one sport, you only work on one sports set of muscles where, maybe in soccer, yeah, you do learn to shield the ball, but who knows if you'd be able to be that much of a force not being able to be taken off the ball if it wasn't for wrestling. But, 4 on 14, that's still 10 saves. That's a lot of saves. And as a keeper, sometimes you're only going to be your best ability is going to be your defense's ability to help you out. Where if you're making multiple saves and attacks, it's going to be real tough for you to make that second and third save. Where you face 14 shots in a game. That's a lot for a keeper to try to keep out of the net. So I think for Lyman, they're going to want to try to tighten up a little bit defensively. You don't want to allow 14 shots again.
No, and you don't. And, of course, Mountain View is one of the top scoring teams in the 3A right now. But tightening up will be one of the biggest things for them. And kickoff for Thursday, 3 p.m. for the girls, 5 p.m. for the boys. And then a little bit of a scheduling change. Originally this weekend, Lyman was supposed to be on the road at Cody and Powell. But I got a text from Lyman AD Jason Hansen saying, hey, those games got moved down to the Bridger Valley instead. So a little bit of a schedule swap. But on Friday, Lyman will play Cody at 3 p.m. kickoff for the girls, 5 p.m. for the boys. We won't be there for that game. We'll be down at Green Space Field for Mountain View on that Friday. But we'll have their Saturday game against Powell, 10 a.m. kickoff for the girls and a noon kickoff for the boys. That will wrap up the Lyman section here on Homefield Advantage. We'll have more after the break. This is presented by Jake Major at the Bullock Agency of Wyoming and Bear Lake Memorial Hospital.
Hey there, I'm Jake Major, your local Medicare and insurance benefits advisor for the Bullock Agency of Wyoming. With over 25 years of experience protecting families in rural America, we understand the importance of having an affordable insurance coverage. Whether you're searching for extra coverage or looking to understand and switch your Medicare options, I can help you find a range of top-rated insurance companies and tailor-made packages based on your needs. Call me, Jake Major, today at 307-209-4685 and let's discuss your insurance options. We're the Bullock Agency of Wyoming when benefits matter.
When you have an emergency, choose Bear Lake Memorial Hospital. Open 24/7, the professional emergency room staff is trained for trauma, medical, cardiac, pediatric, orthopedic, and obstetric emergencies. Bear Lake Memorial is a critical access level 3 trauma center, offering immediate access to radiology, lab services, surgery, and internal medicine consults. The ER teams are well-trained professionals who are ready to act. When you have an emergency, Bear Lake Memorial Hospital, the most caring hospital on earth.
Out here, we've always worked remote. Out here, stress usually refers to the pull on a rope. Where a stroll in the city is also a stroll in the great outdoors. Where work is a way of life, and life is good. Out here, the backyards are big, and the deals, they're even bigger. This is southwestern Wyoming, and it's where you can get the biggest deals on a vehicle you want with plenty of hometown hospitality. Heritage Auto, your hometown dealer with the biggest deals.
Welcome back to the My Local Radio Sports Network Homefield Advantage. I'm Aaron Poling. That's Anthony Colasuno. But before we get back into the Bridger Valley soccer section of our show, we want to thank T7 Propane as well as Les Schwab Plains Tires for being a part of all of our broadcasts. Without you guys, none of this would be possible, so thank you. And Anthony, we're going to turn it back over to the Bridger Valley as we have to discuss Mountain View.
Yeah, discussing the Buffaloes last week. They faced Lyman on the road, and the day before, 2 days before, they were on the road at Pinedale, and of course we covered that. It was wins for both sides, for the viewer that may have not listened to the shows last week. And the results of the Bridger Valley Classico, the girls lost 3-2 to the Lady Eagles, but in a great display of just athletic power on the field. The Lady Buffaloes were down 2-0 at half to Lyman. They tied it up 2-2 within the first 5 minutes of the second half, and then ended up losing by a go-ahead goal by the Lady Eagles as the boys won 3-0. Nash Piccolo with a hat trick and assist to go along with the day. And this week, the Buffaloes have Cody and Powell at home. They have Powell on Friday, Cody on Saturday. We'll be there for the Friday game kickoff scheduled for 3 p.m. for the girls, 5 p.m. for the boys. And looking at both of these teams going into this week, a thing that the girls are going to need to do is to build up that defensive line / midfield attack. Teams are now starting to expose that defensive line just a tiny bit, because what I've noticed is the Lady Buffaloes like to press just a little bit more on the defensive side, and the opposing attack gets a bunch of through balls on the other side into the attacking third.
Yeah, that's one of the obstacles when you press, is that they can play a ball over your back line, and if they have someone fast enough to run onto it, you could be in trouble. But soccer is a game of defense. As much as, everyone loves to see goals. Goals are exciting. I love goals, don't get me wrong. Listen to any of the games I call. Whenever a goal is scored for our team, I love it, and I go crazy. But soccer is a game of defense, and it's a game of goal prevention. If you can keep the ball out of your net, obviously the worst you can do is draw. If you shut the other team out, you cannot lose the game. Which I'm not breaking news when I say that, but I think that's why it's important for the Lady Buffs to really strengthen up that defensive core. And you got to remember, they're also only a few games into a lot of new players playing in new positions and a lot of seniors that they lost last year. And also a new head
coach as well. Cassie Van Dusen's in her first year as a head coach. So a lot of new players, a lot of young talent. One name that stands out to me is Ellie Stoddard, who's a freshman. She leads the team in goals at the moment. And the way she brings the ball down the pitch is just phenomenal. She goes through all the defenders she can and will pass it off to one of her fellow teammates to finish.
Yeah, and that new coach is as big of part of trying to learn that system on the fly with not a lot of practice time in soccer, in Wyoming soccer. Let's just be honest, with the weather, you don't get a lot of time out on the pitch. So learning that whole new system on the fly and having a freshman be one of your better players, that's great for the future. As Stoddard has shown out here in the first couple of games, it'll be interesting to see how when teams get the scouting report on Mountain View, how that kind of changes if teams decide to throw multiple bodies at her and how she handles that. Because there's a lot of things you have to learn about being a really good striker for a soccer team. And one of them is just, how do I manipulate these coverages to get myself open? Because when you're seeing 2-3 bodies every time you touch the ball, you're going to have to probably try to get it from get your goal off ball. Very capable as well. And it's just kind of a learning curve. It's, as a freshman, this is all stuff that she'll see throughout the year, and she's going to have to continue to learn.
Well, and also, being a striker, it's one of the hardest positions, because a lot of people think, they just kick the ball in the back of the net, No,
there's a lot of connecting pieces.
There's a lot more connected pieces. You got to have eyes in the back of your head to look around and, all right, I'm getting closed down here. I don't want to turn over the ball. Let's see if a teammate's open behind me to try to reset. Or even, all right, I have a defender on my right side of my body, so I can't shoot with my strong foot. I'm going to have to go with my weak foot and try to get a shot on net, which when players can score with their weak foot, it's phenomenal, because we don't see that every day.
Yeah. As a soccer player, I feel like you should be able, especially if you're a striker worth your weight in salt, that you should be able to score with both feet. You should be able to finish with both feet. But one of the things about being a striker that I think you'll have to learn, and that's playing with your back to the goal. you don't think about that a lot because you think of a striker, you think of your fast players, and you think of wanting to just go forward. But if you can learn to play with your back to your goal, manipulate the ball to go back a little bit so you can go forward more, it's surprising how well that give and go with the striker getting it up top and giving it to a wing or something, and then that striker just taking off after the pass. That give and go works pretty well to get players in alone. So it's just learning to play with the back to the goal and just learning how teams are going to defend you. That's one of the biggest things, too, I think, is just learning how certain teams play. Because there are teams that play a little more aggressive, other teams that like to back it into their formation a little bit more. And that's all part of the learning curve for a freshman.
And I love how you're trying to bring in also the strategy aspect of it. I talked with Powell head coach, one of the Powell head coaches yesterday, and he said that playing at Mountain View's field, it's tough because it's natural grass. So you have the lumps and all that stuff, and it really slows down opponents' pace. It really does when there are teams that are used to playing on turf. And he said, we're going to change up our strategy. I talked to him like, what is your formations usually? What is your strategy? He's like, down at green space, we're going to have to change that probably throughout the game. Yeah. And kind of run, not play to the opponent, but see what the opponent is doing as well. As green space is definitely a very good home field advantage for the Buffs.
Yeah, one more thing about natural grass is if you've watched any of the games on turf, the ball skips and it rolls forever. So like when you're trying to play a through ball to the sideline, it seems like that sideline always becomes a 12th defender, ball goes out of bounds. Green space, natural grass, the grass eats the ball. So if you put it into space, it's more likely to stay in bounds. So that's kind of the advantage of playing on natural grass versus turf. Turf, you're going to get some funny hops throughout the game, and that could lead to a scoring opportunity if you get some backspin on a ball. Where on the grass, it's going to kind of play more natural. It'll kind of hop forward a little bit more than it will backspin out the way it does on turf.
And I'm going to bring a little golf analogy into this. Playing at different golf courses, you have different grass. Mm-hmm. Some grass makes the ball bounce more. Some grass will, when you swing down, it will grab the ball last second before it goes up in the air. So the grass at green space is going to be a challenge for opponents all year. It's a very good grass. It's a very good home field advantage. And moving on to the boys' side, they play Powell on Friday. And right now, the boys, top of the 3A West at the moment, 2-1 in just regular season record and conference record. They only play conference opponents, but the points on the conference side of the table, that's what matters the most. You could have a team have 20 points on the season and have 15, 16, however many points on the conference side and end up being second place in their division. So right now the Buffalo's top of the table. They face Powell this weekend on Friday. Both the Powell boys and girls with identical records, 3-2 and 1-0 on the season for the girls and the boys side. And for the boys right now, they are flying high at the moment. Nash McCullough is doing his thing. Will Anderson is being a great set piece for him. Also, Aiden and Andrew Harmon, the Harmon brothers, are doing amazing as well. And Coulter Timms got injured in the regular season opener, and Casey Walker has done a fantastic job in net in place of Timms.
Yeah, they're off to a great start. The only way that you can give yourself a chance to win the table is to get off to a good start, and that's what Mountain View has done. Nash Piccola's on fire. I'm not surprised after watching him play last year as a sophomore. There just seemed like there was times where he would take over games, but all of that was part of the learning curve that we talked about with Stoddard, where he was still a young sophomore last year trying to find his way, and it looks like as a junior, it's clicked. And it's funny to see that it seems like once athletes get to be upperclassmen, things just click a little bit differently, and suddenly, Nash McCullough is now the dominant force that he is in the box, which, anytime that ball's on his foot within the box, you have to feel great if you're the Mountain View Buffaloes, just because he has an opportunity to make something happen every time he touches it.
7 goals in 3 games. He scored in every single game this season. That's absolutely amazing.
It's averaging 2 per game.
Yes, he's averaging 2 per game. Had 2 versus Lander, and the only goals on the day for the Buffs, and then had 2 at Pinedale, and now a hat trick versus Lineman. What else can this guy do?
Yeah, it almost seems like 1 goal is an off day for him. So, but that's just kind of the player that Nash McColl is. He takes over games, and will he be able to do it every single game, score multiple goals in every game? I'm not going to sit up here and say you can't do it, but that's a tough ask to score multiple goals every single game. But just to start, he's off to, because teams are going to catch on.
Yeah.
And teams are going to start throwing multiple, not just 2 or 3, maybe even 4 bodies at him just until let someone else beat you, because Nash McColl has got to be the top of the scouting report for all teams playing Mountain View.
Absolutely. That'll wrap up our Mountain View segment. Of course, start times Friday. We'll be live at Green Space Field. 3 p.m. kickoff for the girls, 5 p.m. for the boys. And then on Saturday, they play Cody at 10 a.m. and noon. That'll wrap up this section of Homefield Advantage, presented by Jake Major at the Bullock Agency of Wyoming and Bear Lake Memorial Hospital.
If you've never heard a mechanic say they truly care, then you've been at the wrong place. Stacy's Repair in Woodruff is a family-owned and operated business open since 1992. Offering all types of maintenance and repair services, you can be sure your vehicle is operating at its best. Whether your vehicle is older or the newest model, gas or diesel, we fix and maintain them all. Also offering chip repair, windshield replacement, and tires. When your vehicle needs a mechanic, bring it to the ones who truly care. Stacy's Repair in Woodruff.
Founded in 1938 with hopes and dreams of serving the Bridger Valley, Benedict Trading Company was started. Now 85 years and 3 generations later, Benedict's Ace is still serving the Bridger Valley. At Benedict's Ace, you'll find all your home improvement needs. If you're wanting to update the color of your walls, they have all the supplies you need. Changing or fixing your faucet or needing to change out a light fixture can be done with ease. Time to add a backyard paradise? Stop in at Benedict's Ace for all your barbecue, patio furniture, lawn maintenance, and gardening needs. Stop in and visit their friendly staff at 1080 North Highway 414 in Mountain View.
At Reese Auto Service in Lyman, you will find highly skilled mechanics who will get the job done right the first time. They work on anything from light line jobs of tire alignments, suspension work, and oil changes to heavy line jobs of engine replacement, differentials, and all powertrain components. Make sure all your recreational vehicles are working at top speed by getting them checked at Reese Auto Service in Lyman so your time having fun doesn't end early. Reese Auto Service, 541 State Highway 413, Lyman.
When it comes to professional propane service, you can always count on the team at T7 Propane in Woodruff. With a focus on safety, quality product, and excellent service for each customer, you'll always call T7 first. When you work with the professionals at T7 Propane, you're working with the best. For all your propane needs, call T7 Propane in Woodruff, Utah, 435-793-4208.
Welcome back to the My Local Radio Sports Network Homefield Advantage. I'm Aaron Pulling. That's Anthony Colasuno. Thank you for joining us on what hopefully is a beautiful day for soccer, as the Evanston Red Devils will play later today. We'll get to that more later, but let's recap last week, as the only Red Devils game on the pitch was the Red Devils taking on the Tigers of Rock Springs. Let's start on the girls' side, as boy, it got chippy. It got chippy, and unfortunately for the Red Devils for today's game, one of the big storylines coming out of that game, they will be without Kinley Hinsey, who is on an automatic 1-game suspension for getting the double yellow red card. As we were talking during the break, Riverton plays both Evanston and Rock Springs next, and Rock Springs, their players will be serving the suspension against Riverton as well. So, hey, lucky time I don't want to say lucky time, but nice time to be the Wolverines, not catching teams at full strength.
It's one of the best, but also sometimes one of the worst things in sports. You know, like if you catch a team the bad break with injuries, that's not always the best, but you got to be feeling good when the top opposing player, and for both sides, for Rock Springs and Evanston, are missing people, not due to injuries, but due to red cards. It helps it out, because now you're going to have a player trying to fit in that star role on that field that maybe will live up to the expectation, maybe will struggle a little bit, and teams can take advantage of that. A little bit of gamesmanship there. Well,
let's get into why we're in this situation that we are in. The Rock Springs Tigers win 5-2, and you hear that score and you don't think if it was a great game, but it was a much better game than the score indicated. Rock Springs got on top 3-0 before Kinley Hinsey scored from about 45 yards out on one that I think the Tigers would want back. I think they just the keeper lost their post and it rolled in, and the keeper looked more surprised that it went in than anything. And, but Hinsey put it on frame from 45 yards out, was rewarded. Then the Red Devils get a penalty kick that Kinley Hinsey calmly steps up, cashes in, and this is where it goes hog wild at 3-2. So, collision in the midfield. I think the Red Devils might have wanted a foul, but Hinsey gets the second yellow card. And as she gets the yellow card, is read off. I'm not sure what happened with the Tigers player. We haven't heard anything about what happened, or I can only really guess, but it looks like she might have said something on the way off, which earned her. Said something to Hinsey on the way off, which earned that player a red card, which meant we played 10 aside. Well, they continue to battle 10 aside. Ball played into the box. One of the Red Devils players gets tackled from behind. Red card for stopping a clear and obvious chance. 10-9, the Red Devils have the player advantage. Penalty kick is stopped. Three opportunities for the Red Devils. All of them happened to hit the hands of the keeper, making up for probably that goal earlier. She made 3 10-bell saves, stood on her head, and at that moment, you kind of feel the momentum turn. Yeah. And then Rock Springs scores, makes it 4-2, and then they get a 5th goal to tack on at the end. And, it was a chippy game, it was a physical game, and it's a really fun game, in my opinion. To me, sports are a little bit more fun when not everybody loves each other on the field. Obviously, off the field, they can get along and everyone can be friends. But on the field, if there's a little bit of a headbutting, I want to say headbutting. If there's a little bit of butting heads, that's a way better. We're not looking for Zidane. Yeah, no. I'm not saying we want Zinedine Zidane to show up. No. If you're butting heads with your opponents, getting after it, being physical, I don't mind that. But and this isn't to knock Kinley Hinsey because she's an incredible soccer player who had a moment. It happens to the best of us. I mean, I'm sure there's been times when I've played sports where it's gotten the best of me and I just let it go and cost my team. And no one has to tell her. I think that they need her on the field. But for the girls though, opportunity today without your best player. It's an opportunity for players to step up and really earn some playing time. You come out and you play well today and the extra minutes you're given, who knows what that could do for the rest of your season.
And the players that are going to step up, these are players that might not see time much throughout the season. And sometimes coaches can find those diamond in the rough type of players that maybe they weren't expecting the player to do this or do that on the pitch. And then all of a sudden it's, oh, wow, I have another option I can go to in crucial times, in crucial scenarios. Say there's a free kick and, well, I know this person, when they stepped up in a game where we had a couple of red cards, they, scored on a free kick. Well, guess what? I'm going to sub this person for a quick second.
Yeah.
See if they can score me a free kick to win me the game. And it is those situations, yes, it sucks missing your best player, but also you can go to your bench and kind of see what your bench is made of in a crucial conference game.
Yeah, and part of the struggles too, I think, for Evanston is they did lose Bella Levitt to what we don't know yet. She missed the last part of the game, which is another one of their starters. And you're down 2 starters. It's tough to come back and beat anyone, and it's going to be a real tough task. It's going to be a tough task today, obviously, as Riverton comes in with just a draw to their name, only their second game. So let's see if the Red Devils can kind of blitz them. As we have to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have the boys section as we have to play the legal ID.
Life is better in the country. KNYN. Fort Bridger, Evanston, Woodruff. 99.1. The country you want to be in.
Welcome back to the My Local Radio Sports Network Homefield Advantage. It is time for the boys' side of things as they lost to Rock Springs 4-1. But once again, it was the opening 10, and from that point forward, it was a much better effort from the Red Devils. But it just seems that every single matchup they play in, they've been jumped so far by the other team, and you have to give yourself a chance going in the second half if you want to win games. And putting yourself down 3-0 puts that task much harder, much harder.
Yeah, and Like you said, when you get jumped early on by a couple of goals, it's always a difficult situation to come back from that because morale instantly goes down. When you go down 2-0 in the first 20 minutes or 3-0 within the first 30, it's tough because you look at that team, okay, what's working for them that's not working for us, and it's one of those situations where Evanston's going to have to flip the script a little bit, and they're going to have to be the ones to draw first blood. And when they do that, Evanston's going to be a way better team on the pitch, and they're going to have all that momentum in the world for them.
Once again, I don't think we're breaking news when we say that you're going to be a much better team playing from in front. That's every sport where if you're ahead, it's a much better game. It's much better than trying to chase the game.
It's more enjoyable.
Oh, for sure, too. But also part of it, too, is when it's happened a couple times to this team already, that first goal goes in. It's hard not to with human nature to be like, oh, boy, here we go again. Mm-hmm. Where if you're the Red Devils, if you do give up one early, you have to try to limit it to one. It stings going down early, but you have to give yourself an opportunity. If you do give up one early and you limit it to one, that kind of works in your advantage because say you give one up 2 minutes in, you have 78 minutes to try to get that goal back.
Exactly.
And we want to talk about the goal real quick from Jordan Mendez, who has 2 on the season. He stepped up and let one absolutely rip in free play as it was a nice ball through by Brooks Cyril. Mendez gets to it from outside of the box, cross body with the left foot, finishes it in that bottom right-hand corner if you're looking at the net from the attacker, as that was a tremendous finish.
That sounds like a tremendous finish. That's a world-class finish right there, and we know Mendez is a prolific striker when he gets the ball on his feet. And let's see what he can do today against our Riverton side. Maybe he can continue that because in any sport, if you score a touchdown, you score a goal, you get, you're the leading scorer on a basketball team, or, with hockey, if you score a goal, you're bound to get another one in that game, or you're going to go into the next game thinking and saying, all right, let's get another brace today. Let's get another assist today. Let's keep it going.
That's 2 straight games with goals for Jordan Mendez. So, as a goal scorer, they come in bunches. And this Riverton team, Mendez scored against them last year. This Riverton team comes in 1-0 with the win over Natrona County. So this is a game that I think the Red Devils come out. They got to get off to a good start, first of all. If you put yourself down 3-0 to most teams, it's going to be really, really tough to come back from. But if they put themselves in a good spot, you get through the first 10 minutes of the game, and if that's still at 0-0, that's a win for the Red Devils because they get much better as the game goes along.
Yeah, and you speak that Riverton's only 1-0 on the season. Evanston's played so far 3 games on the season, correct? Yeah, so you look at that as well, and the records may not indicate the best scenarios, but at the same point in time, the legs are going to be warmer for Evanston. They're going to be more used as Riverton's going to be playing just their second game on the season.
Yeah, Riverton's going to have to get on the bus, travel down here as well, and I'm super excited for today. We got 2 games today. We'll go over the broadcast schedule right now as the girls will play at 1 p.m. Pregame show brought to you by Kazine's Ace Hardware will be at 12:30. The pregame show for the boys will be at 4:30. It might be closer to 4:40 and 12:40, just kind of depending on when we get there, seeing how things are going, as those will be the times for the pregame show. Join us on mylocalradio.com for the Evanston Red Devils taking on the Riverton Wolverines. As we have to wrap this up, I'm Aaron Poling.
Anthony Colasino.
Thank you so much for joining us on the My Local Radio Sports Network Homefield Advantage. But until next time, go everyone.